So in this video, we're gonna go over 10 reasons you're gonna love living in the Lower East Side. Number one, the Lower East Side is a very, very, very diverse neighborhood. Now, I would say that all of Manhattan is definitely very, very diverse, but for some reason, it's very noticeable here, which also leads into my second point that you'll love the Lower East Side, and that's with diversity comes diverse food. You can find so many different types of food in the Lower East Side. So like I said, this can be the case in many other New York City neighborhoods as well, but in Manhattan specifically, you are finding just so many different options there. Like if there's a specific ethnic food that you want to try, look in the Lower East Side because you might be able to find it there. Now, the third reason you're going to love this neighborhood is the nightlife. Whenever I think of Lower East Side to this day, I think of nightlife. So it's also not like I'm going out all the time. That's definitely not the case. The Lower East Side is pretty famous, I would say, for their nightlife there. So also with the nightlife, that brings me to my fourth point, which is there's so much live music in the Lower East Side. There's been times where in like the summer, warmer months, where I've been just walking along the streets of the Lower East Side, and there has been like full band performances out on the streets in the Lower East Side. And I'm not talking about like just like someone like busking, like asking for a little bit of money, like a whole full production of like a band just on the street, just like playing and like jamming out. I've never seen anything like so over the top yet so low key at the same time. It's actually crazy. That goes to show you like the type of neighborhood that the Lower East Side is. There's always something going on there. So I would say that the Lower East Side definitely has like a big nightlife scene and live music scene. But also my next point is that there's also a very big like cocktail scene there as well. So there's so many little like hidden cocktail bars that have popped up in the Lower East Side over the past decade. And it's been really cool to see like these places that are kind of more newer to Manhattan really become like way more popular and almost like staples of the neighborhood at this point. So if you want professional cocktails from like these crazy mixologists, you're gonna love that about the Lower East Side because you can definitely find that there. And I would say that also drink prices tend to be a little bit cheaper on the Lower East Side. Now, give or take, because there are some places that are like always outliers, like one way or another. But for the most part, this neighborhood tends to be like at least $1 or $2 cheaper from other neighborhoods. And that brings me to affordability. I would say that the drinks are definitely a little bit cheaper in this neighborhood for the most part. The food could definitely be a little bit cheaper. The apartments definitely are a little bit cheaper. So a lot of people move to the Lower East Side because it tends to be a little bit of a more affordable neighborhood in downtown Manhattan. Downtown Manhattan is not inexpensive, that's for sure. So if you really want to live downtown and you also want a lively neighborhood, this could be a good affordable option for you to get that. So over the past decade, there's been a lot of new development that has opened up in the Lower East Side. And it's interesting because there's been a lot of new development that has been coming here, but it also is a little bit more affordable than new development in most other parts of the city as well. So it's been an interesting mix because if somebody is looking for new development specifically, but also isn't looking to break the bank with their purchase or even the rent, then the Lower East Side is typically a neighborhood that I do recommend because there's some really, really great options there. So there's definitely a big art scene in the Lower East Side. And I would say compared to other neighborhoods that also have an art scene, it definitely has more of a community feel than some of these other neighborhoods that also have art scenes, but it feels a little bit more snobby and forced. So I'm not trying to like downplay other like art scenes and saying that this one's definitely like way better than the others. But at the same time, I feel like the Lower East Side's a little less pretentious about their art and more opening and welcoming than maybe other neighborhoods are. And just to be honest, West Side art scene is not nearly like that. So I would say that as someone who's not an artist at all, but has an appreciation for art, I don't feel like it's the art scene on the Lower East Side is intimidating or like I don't know what I'm talking about type of thing, but I think in other neighborhoods might feel like that. So there's also a lot of like vintage shops in the Lower East Side. If you're looking for vintage clothing or just like vintage like goods in general, then you're gonna find that within walking distance of most places in the Lower East Side. So a lot of people who are into thrifting specifically come to the Lower East Side for that. I'm gonna say the last reason that you're gonna love the Lower East Side. The Lower East Side is actually close to the water. It's a waterfront neighborhood. So you can easily walk over to the East River from pretty much anywhere in the neighborhood. It's only gonna be a few minute walk to get to the waterfront. And it's always nice to be in a neighborhood where you don't feel landlocked. At least I definitely prefer, I would say, neighborhoods that are bordering the water versus not, because at least you can get like some fresh air and kind of like take a step out of Manhattan for a minute and just be on the waterfront. Some people don't care about that, but I do think that it's a nice perk in the Lower East Side. So those are 10 reasons that you're gonna love the Lower East Side. So I would love to know if there's anything I'm missing in this video. What are some of the reasons that you love Lower East Side? As always, I love hearing from you guys.